Colleen Brown and Christy Gross were both 19 years old. On the night of July the 4th, the two women, best friends by all accounts, attended the Little Britches Rodeo. The night was supposed to be a fun night. The girls had set out to enjoy themselves, but unfortunately, the night would not turn out that way. The girls would disappear, never to be seen again. The car the girls drove that night would later be found abandoned. There are conflicting reports as to where the car was found. Some state it was at the fairground where the women were last seen, but others say it was found in Rawlins, Wyoming, over 200 miles north. Not much is known about the two girls. Colleen Brown was adopted as an infant, and her birth family is unknown. Her adoptive family, Father Carl, Mother Catherine, and brother Rick. Rick was adopted also, and all have since passed away. At the time of her disappearance, she lived in Rawlins with her father and brother. Her mother lived in Colorado. Colleen graduated from Rawlins High School in 1973. She was known to be passionate about sports and often participated in this during her school years. The initial investigation did not gain much traction. As with so many cases involving the disappearance of young people in the 1970s, Colleen and Christy were both initially classified as runaways, and the Rawlins police did not investigate as thoroughly as would be expected. To back up this suggestion, Colleen was known to pit her divorced parents against one another, and would live at times with her mother in Colorado and at times with her father in Rawlins. She was known to leave when it suited her, but in the past had always returned after a short time. Just 1 month later, on August the 4th, 14-year-old Deborah Meyer vanished. Deborah lived in Red Lodge, Montana. She and her family were visiting relatives in Rawlins. On the evening, she was last seen departing the residence near 7th and Spruce Street. She planned to walk to a local movie theatre. It is unclear if she ever made it to the movie theatre. However, she never returned home and has not been heard from again. Then, on August the 23rd, less than 3 weeks after her disappearance, 10-year-old Jaylene Banker was visiting the Carbon County Rodeo in Rawlins when she got separated from a friend. Jaylene was also never seen again. The reaction when she disappeared was quite different from the other women, and a massive search effort was made to find her. Unfortunately, this was to no avail, and no clues as to the whereabouts of Jaylene were found. However, a short time later, her body would be found in a field. The 10-year-old had been murdered. All the cases would go cold after that for another 9 years. Then, in October 1983, 9 years after her disappearance, Christy Gross's body would be found 3 miles south of Sinclair, Wyoming. She had been killed by 2 heavy blows to the skull. There were no signs of Colleen at the scene. Since then, police have continued to investigate, but a lack of evidence has made their job a tough one. A couple of suspects have been put forward, including serial killer Ted Bundy. However, the first and most likely suspect is Royal Russell Long. Royal Russell Long was a resident of Rawlins in 1974. He worked part-time in carnivals and was a long-haul trucker. Long had a history of sexual violence towards young women. His own daughter claimed he had molested her for years and witnessed him trying to lure other girls with puppies or stuffed animals, often at the carnivals where he worked. 12-year-old Sharon Bald Eagle ran away from her hometown of Eagle Butte, South Dakota, on September the 18th, 1984, along with a 15-year-old girl named Sandy. The girls were hitchhiking together in Casper, Wyoming, when they were picked up by a trucker named Royal Russell Long. Long took the girls to his home in Wyoming and fed them. Sandy stated he then offered them $100 for sexual services. When the girls refused, he tied them up at gunpoint, beat Sharon and raped Sandy. Sandy escaped and went for help, but by the time the police arrived at the residence, Long and Sharon were gone. Eventually, Long was apprehended, but Sharon was nowhere to be found. According to Long, he carried Sharon out to his truck and then put her on a light-coloured truck bound for Dallas, Texas, and this was the last time he ever saw her. According to Long, after realizing the police were looking for him, he drove to Amarillo, Texas, trying to find Sharon or anyone who might have seen her. Authorities were unable to find anything to support his story. They couldn't identify the truck driver Sharon supposedly got a ride to Dallas with, or find anyone who had seen this trucker or his truck. Prosecutors considered charging Long with Sharon's murder, but they decided against it. Long pleaded guilty to 2 counts of kidnapping and was sentenced to 2 life terms in prison. Long is also the prime suspect in the disappearances of Cinder and Charlotte Kinsey, who vanished from the Oklahoma State Fairgrounds in Oklahoma City on September 26, 1981. Charlotte called her family to tell them she and Cinder had been offered jobs assisting a worker unload toys from a truck at the fair. Charlotte's mother agreed to let her take the job on the condition that she called home at 9 p.m. The 2 girls planned to spend the night together at Cinder's house. The man who offered them the job drove a tan 2-door 1980 or 1981 Pontiac Grand Prix with South Dakota license plates. The man also asked 2 teenage boys to help them, and the boys agreed. He took the 4 of them to a truck stop off Interstate 40, but the truck wasn't there. The man dropped the boys off in the parking lot and gave them $10 and told them to wait while he went to get the truck. He drove away with Charlotte and Cinder in the back seat of his car, never to return. As numerous witnesses had seen this man, a sketch was produced, which bore a striking resemblance to Long. Long was charged with kidnapping and murdering Charlotte and Cinder in August of 1985. He had arrived in Oklahoma City on the day before the girls disappeared to deliver a flatbed trailer to a business there, and admitted he'd been at the Oklahoma State Fair the day the girls vanished, although he denied any involvement in their disappearances. The 2 boys, as well as other witnesses, identified him as the man who offered the girls the jobs unloading toys and who approached other children with the same offer. Authorities located the Pontiac Grand Prix, which Long had rented during his trip. Hairs that were found in the car's trunk were analysed using forensic testing and were matched to Cinder. Forensic tests also proved that the mat in the truck of the Grand Prix had a bloody boot print as well as other bloodstains. DNA technology at the time did not exist, so it was impossible to tell who the blood came from. In December 1985, after the presiding judge threw out Long's daughter's testimony, the testimony of one of the boys who were offered a job by the abductor, and much of the physical evidence, all charges against Long were dismissed. He is still considered the prime suspect in the girls' cases. It's been 49 long years since the summer of 1974, and there are still no answers in what happened to any of the women and girls who vanished or have been murdered.